Hey guys, this is the Expat Chat. I created this as an expat myself after living overseas for a year and realising that there's so much information that you have to take in as an expat about making friends, setting up a whole new life here, settling your family in, jobs. There is just so much that comes with creating a new life overseas. So I hope that you find this interesting as I interview other expats that can give you some nuggets of information and hopefully some comfort and excitement as you start your expat journey. So I've got my lovely friend Yaz with me today.
Hi.
Thank you for coming. I know you're super busy to even think about doing this, so I appreciate it.
You are welcome, my darling.
You've just had your 40th birthday.
I have indeed.
Or 39 plus 1.
39 plus 1. I'm proud to be 40,
Yeah, good.
actually.
You should
Proud
be.
to be 40.
And how was a 40th in Dubai? A birthday in Dubai?
Yes, it was beautiful. I just wanted something really chilled. I had a lovely morning with the kids at home. FA did a beautiful breakfast and we went for a nice, he'd booked me a surprise massage at the Atlantis Royal. So that was absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. And then we had a lovely lunch there together at Nobu by the beach. So it was a fancy day.
It was a Dubai birthday.
It was a Dubai birthday, but it was lovely. It was not crazy. It wasn't chaotic. And then I came home, had lots of calls and lovely messages from friends and family.
So let's start at the beginning. Why Dubai?
Yeah.
Why did you move to Dubai?
I think for us, we've always talked about like moving somewhere, having a bit of an adventure, doing something as a family. It's something that we'd always talked about. And then in 2022, we had a family bereavement. When you experience bereavement, I think the fragility of life becomes a lot closer. And we figured that if we didn't do it in kind of the next 18 months or 2 years of that point, then we probably weren't going to do it. We had family meetings. It was a joint decision. I think that when your children are a little bit younger, you can kind of scoop them all up and just say, this is what we're doing. And our children at the time were like 12 and 10, and then our youngest was 5. And so it was like just thinking about, okay, the older two had an opinion, they had formed friendship groups, they had hobbies and activities that they were already engaged in, and was it something they wanted to do? And so if we were going to go somewhere in the world, it's a great place for, particularly for a family, in terms of obviously the safety, but also the opportunities that it offers the kids.
And don't you think as well, the transition of moving to a country where the majority of people do speak English?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a home from home on steroids, I always say, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think for us, it's particularly as a mixed race family. So I'm half Pakistani, my husband's British born Nigerian. So my children are mixed. We lived in a very white middle class area back home. And so I think also for them, what's been really nice is that they've gone into the classrooms and not felt a little bit different. And so what's been beautiful for us and our family has been watching them kind of like meet friends that are from China or from India, from Russia, Africa, wherever it is, in a way that at home they just wouldn't have done. And their kind of scope of the world opens up in a way that I just think it doesn't when you're living kind of at home in your little town.
It's the same with my daughter being here and meeting people, and actually she gravitated towards the English girls at first, and now she has friends. All of her friends are either from Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, a couple of girls from America, and I just love the fact that by the time they're 18, they're going to have friendships all over the world.
Exactly.
How long have you been in Dubai now?
So I have been here just over a year. So 2nd of December 2025 was my year anniversary. And FA, my husband, he's been here now for 18 months. So he came 6 months ahead of us, or just before 6 months ahead of us. So I stayed home, packed up the house. And one of the reasons for that was that with the job that he'd got, he didn't get an internal transfer. The journey to get here was quite a big one. And as we'll talk about, our faith was a huge part of that journey to get here. But we really felt like it would be wise to send him ahead to make sure that he liked the job rather than moving all of our family, paying all the school fees, that kind of thing, and for him to get settled ahead of us coming, and also making sure that he passed his probation, right? The job market in Dubai is pretty cutthroat. We just thought actually because of his job and the role that holds in our family, actually it's probably wisest for him to come, get his feet under the table, get settled, and I was at home with the 3 children by myself, packing up our house and doing all the goodbyes.
But you hear this so much. I think there's so many women that I've met here that have said, oh, my husband was here for X amount
Yeah.
of time before, getting set up and everything. How was that?
I've always probably done kind of a lion's share of the kind of physical care, right, of the children. So life for us, I suppose, to a degree stayed the same, but it was really hard. Fa and I are very, very close. We've been together a really long time, you know, coming up for 17 years of marriage. So we are best friends. We absolutely adore each other. And so I'm very proud of that. And that was a really tricky time. One night he sent me, he was out with a friend, and he sent me a video of him like at a beautiful restaurant, and I sent him a video night of like my kitchen in absolute chaos. I was like, must be nice, you know. And I think having that understanding of being that you're on the same team, you're on the journey together, it's just what life looks like for both of you right now is very different. And so that's kind of it takes a level of acceptance for both people. And he'd also got into a great habit here, you know, a great kind of routine on a daily basis. So he'd wake up, pray, kind of, you know, take some time for meditation and stuff like that, go to the gym, and by 7 o'clock, he's ready to like conquer the world. And then we arrived and he was like, whoa, now we've got to figure out how to live together again. We've got to figure out what does our family look like here? What does our family rhythm look like in Dubai now? And that takes a while.
For you, what was your friendships like at home and your relationships with family?
You know, if my mum needed anything, I come from a single parent family, so if my mum needed anything, we were kind of around the corner. And I think for us that was probably one of the biggest considerations in terms of like what we were leaving behind. When I arrived in Dubai, I was coming towards my 39th birthday, a mum of 3, and I was just like, I actually don't have much social battery left anyway at the end of the day here, where I know everyone and it's familiar. How am I going to make friends like here? Some of our friends really walked the journey closely with us when we talked about, hey, this is what we're really thinking of doing. You know, can you, like for us, can you pray for us?
See, faith is such a huge part of your family, friendships, community, everything for you. How did you sort of discover your faith and your community here?
A friend of mine knew some people that had previously attended the church that we're at now, and I'd passed those details on to Fa when he landed, obviously having experienced loss and bereavement, and it had just been a really tricky time. And I remember saying to him the first week before he started his job, I was like, use it as like a week's retreat. You've got no wife, you know, you haven't started your job yet, you haven't got the kids and any demands, like use this as a time to really just like, you know, find some healing, like, you know, take some time for yourself. You're never going to really get that space again. He formed a few friendships there, and to be honest, that is probably where we found our main sense of community here. And I actually would have really struggled personally here if I had not have found community in our faith space. It's definitely a smaller circle. You can meet lots of people in Dubai. I think the thing that I probably found the most exhausting was that first particularly 6 months, and I still think maybe it happens, is the conversation of when you meet someone new. He's like, hi, what's your name? What do you do? How long have you been in Dubai? It's kind of like a 3-sentence.
It's like speed dating, right? No, we say this all the time. When you move to Dubai, you'll meet so many people and lovely people and people that may not align with you, but you're just trying to suss each other out. And we met because...
because of Arsenal.
Because of Arsenal. They found a mutual connection.
And then they fell in love. Yeah, exactly.
And thank God they did.
Yes, indeed, exactly. Life would be not as rich without you, my darling. But yeah, and then we met round the pool, right? And then that Friday we went out and had an evening, the 4 of us together, and we got in the car and we're like, oh, they listen to the same kind of music that we do, and you know,
you
like there was
through different ways.
I think the other thing that I probably think that we had to get used to is the way that people do life here is like a bit more kind of in each other's pockets. Because of that thing about you, they become your family, you tend to see each other more regularly than I feel like maybe you would at home.
I know, it's crazy. We were even invited for Christmas dinner with friends. And obviously at home, that just wouldn't be a conversation that would be had. And these are, when I say friends, I mean, these are even people that you may call friends after 2 times of meeting them. It's a being an expat in an expat friendship is very different to your friendships, for me anyway, at home, I find.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's just on a different scale. Everything happens a lot faster.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing is like those first 3 to 4 months for me, I think because like, we'd had a couple of really tough years, and like not just with loss, but as in job loss, there'd been like just a lot of difficult, hard situations. And I think for me that almost held everyone together and kind of steadied the ship. And then I got here and was like, and people used to say to me, were saying to me, just as kind of as we were leaving, you're so brave, it's such a brave thing to do, oh my, you're so courageous, I've always wanted to do it and I just haven't got the, you know, that kind of thing. And I remember thinking, well, it's not that brave. And then I got here and I thought, oh yeah, it really is brave. And I remember maybe the first week FaceTime with my sister, and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. And she called my mum, was like, should I get on a plane and go? And my mum was like, no, she'll be okay. But I think suddenly that stuff that you kind of hold together and you get here and then you're like, anything that is familiar is not here, and I've got to learn to go to the supermarket, and what supermarket do I like, and what things do I like to buy here. That's a big process that people just don't really, and it's all well and good for, you know, for me, I didn't necessarily want to just do, well, what I did at home I do here, because actually you miss the beauty of what is here. So there's a level of discovery which I think brings something new and adds to your life, but that's a trial and error. I'd say the first 6 months I'd voice note some of my best friends home and I'd be like, I love you, and I couldn't finish the voice note without like crying, and they'd be like, yes, you know, and it just is part, and that just had to take its course, you know.
It's so bizarre because I felt like I was the complete opposite of that.
Okay.
All those emotions that you felt after sort of settling here after a couple of months have come to me more after a year.
Okay.
Because everyone was like, you'll get homesick, and I was like, no, I'm not homesick. I'm not massively missing anyone in particular. Obviously you miss seeing your parents and the routine, but the FaceTime closes the gap. So I didn't really feel that until it got to like a year. It felt like maybe I was on autopilot.
For sure.
Social media can be super powerful with making friendships.
Community, absolutely.
And community. And I know that I've set up coffee meetings where we've had 10 people, and within that, people have spent Christmases together now. They've set businesses up together. They've helped each other. It's just, I don't know, maybe it just took that bit longer for me to now, after a year, go, okay, I don't need to rush this.
No. I think for us, we've definitely found that we've had a lot more time together. We've found a new level of a new level of friendship and a new level of like just experiencing life a bit together. I do think that moving to Dubai either makes or breaks your relationship.
100%. I fully agree with that, and I think moving to Dubai definitely is can be a test 100%. On your relationship. And like yourself, with your husband, me and my husband have been together for 24 years now, and it's a long time. And I feel like within that 24 years, you have many different relationships. 100%.
And you have different versions of yourself.
Different versions of yourself, which bring different relationships 100%. With each other. And this was like a whole new chapter for us, because at home, we would always escape the UK for time together, and we couldn't get that time in our own home because there'd always be something to do with the kids and the chores and family. So we would always go to Europe and head off and really enjoy that quality time. A lot of the reason why we moved to Dubai as well was to have that quality time together. But then going from both having your kind of own lives and own social lives and own friends and mutual friends as well, but coming to Dubai and almost living in each other's pockets. It's taken a year, I would say. It probably took about 6 months to find our feet in our relationship again, to say, oh, this is very new. I think for us, our social life went from brunches and meeting loads of people and doing things to now, let's go to the top of a mountain.
Peace, calm.
Let's walk to the top of Hatta Mountain and find some peace and calm.
I had an unhealthy pace in the UK, absolutely. Any of my friends that might watch this will be laughing right now, because I absolutely, didn't sit down, was like from morning till night. And I promised myself that when I got to Dubai that I wouldn't do that. And I would say my pace is actually worse here. I think the pace in Dubai is the complete antithesis of cool, calm and collected. And actually, if you don't put your own brakes on, I think it can really almost like run you ragged. You have to work hard here, right? Like
there's no luck here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You work hard, you get the results. The concept of opportunity is in the air, and that's something I really love. There's not that kind of sense of gatekeeping so much of like, I was like, oh, Sarah, if I've got some people that can help you on what you want to do, absolutely. I hope it works out, like you said, right? People have started businesses from your coffee meetups, etc. You can just get here and be like, everything's like this, and actually, if you think about that as what that does to your character, it doesn't actually always bring such positive things.
No, agreed. How would you say the kids have adapted to life in Dubai?
They've done really well, actually. I think for us, because we had these family meetings before we moved, I was really conscious that, particularly with the older two, that I didn't want them to turn around and be like, oh, you've ruined our life, or you brought us here. And it's all, whereas if doing it collectively, then at least we all had buy-in. To be honest with you, they've just done amazingly well. I just look at them, the opportunities that they've had, the friends that they've made, the things that they get to go and do. They've had some lovely teachers, and they've just really just flourished. And even for them, finding a kind of faith community, like with the youth and the kind of kids church, has been a real blessing for us. It's been beautiful to see their journey.
And it keeps them humble in Dubai, right?
Yeah, because Elia, for example, a couple of weeks ago, absolutely went to an 11th birthday party on a yacht, had the time of her life. And I think they even drove like speedboat Lamborghinis or something crazy, you know, like she came home with all of this thing. And,
we weren't doing that in Essex.
No, we definitely weren't. And then she went back to the same friend's house and had a lovely play date. And I think what's been really nice is that they've actually been able to see the kind of the have and the have nots. I think I'm really, I've always parented this way of like, there'll always be people in life that will have more than you. There'll always be people in life that will have less than you. And you need to be able to operate in both spaces. And I think that's part of my parenting work. But I've kind of taught them no one is better than you. No one is less than you. And they see me model that actually, just in terms of the people here. You know, there are two very different experiences for people in Dubai.
100%.
There's the expat that we're talking about life. And then there's the life of those who are building the city. And so I think I've been able to hopefully, and I think our faith has been a big part of that, of teaching them about the value of people. And that, of course, you can go out and have moments that are shiny and glitz and glamour. And, you know, I've said this to you a few times before. I think here you only have to scratch the surface to realise that there's a lot more than meets the eye. I'm not afraid to say no to my children.
Yeah.
Just because you can, it doesn't mean you should.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
I think here I think anywhere now, just in the way people parent, there's that element of like, well, let me just give. I just don't know how beneficial that is, particularly when you think of them as an adult, right? We can't always have what we want all the time. Maybe some people can, but I'm not one of those. And actually, nor would I want to. It's not good for us to have everything we want. It feeds something in us, the instant gratification. And so I've been particularly aware of that here. Just because we can, it doesn't mean we should. And then because nothing then feels like a treat. What feels like a treat. And so for us, we've been really mindful. You know, if you're like, oh, what are we doing today? Well, actually, there's a beautiful pool on your community. You've got all of this gorgeous, you know, space. Take your bikes out, go and like have a ride with your friends, knock and play for, you know, with some friends. You don't need to be spending cash every single time you're going out. Find the beauty in the small things. And so I think that's really helped. I've always been the same in that regard. And don't get me wrong, in the moments that I want to, or that, you know, times where we're like, okay, we're going to treat the kids for this or whatever, they absolutely know that and feel that. So they're not hard done by. But I think there's this weird thing in the parenting culture of today that it's like, let's just give them everything they want. And I personally just don't agree with it.
So what would your kind of advice be to someone that's perhaps either moving to Dubai but is worried about making friends, or perhaps they're already here and feeling quite lonely? Because I get those messages quite a lot on Instagram of, how do I make friends? I don't know what to do. I'm a bit nervous, or maybe you're a bit of an introvert, quite shy.
Yeah. I think that is the hard thing here, is that really you have no choice but to kind of put yourself out there. I think if you potentially have children, it slightly makes it probably, you've already crossed a big hurdle, because hopefully you might be able to, some of the parents, like some of the mums, you might be able to, maybe you gravitate towards just a couple of them. Won't be everyone, but maybe you could do an after school play day, and then it's not so awkward on the kind of like one-on-one, like, oh, we must talk. There's like a bit of a wider context. I think putting yourself out on some of these, like the Facebook place, you know, groups, say, hey, this is what I am. I really rate the people that I've seen that are like, hi, I'm, you know, late 20s. I don't really drink. I like a gym. And, you know, I've just moved here. Is anyone up for a coffee? I really rate those people. It takes a lot of confidence to do that.
It really does.
And I think you just have to do that. On Instagram, you can see loads of the like sip and paints and like just different ways to build community. But I do think you can't just stay at home and expect someone to knock on your door. It just doesn't work like that here.
No.
And you will get lonelier and lonelier. So what if you don't have an interest? Get one, babes. Like, get one. Like,
and it's okay to turn up to these events on your own. I think in the UK, if you were going anywhere, you would kind of stay in your own friendship group, really. You wouldn't always be forced into meeting new people, which you are here. So turning up somewhere on your own is completely normal here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it does feel clunky, sometimes it does feel awkward. Sometimes you might have to go and find the coffee station or whatever. But as the kind of whatever it is goes on, like the event goes on, people are just much friendlier. Generally, like it's just easier to spark up a conversation, mainly because you have those kind of first 3 questions that everyone has in their kind of bank in Dubai. So it's a bit different, I think.
There was a lady actually I met, which is probably a really good example. I was sitting, it was in Town Square, and I was in a coffee shop, and the lady next to me was working on her laptop. And we probably sat next to each other for a good 30 minutes. Obviously, we were side by side, so it wasn't like we could make eye contact without deliberately sort of staring at her. But she sort of caught my eye, and she was like, excuse me, sorry, I'm working here, do you come here and work often? And you could see, I thought she must have been mustering up the courage for that half hour to
just ask a question, right?
Ask a question. And I ended up sitting there for over an hour chatting to her, and we did swap Instagram and we do talk, and we haven't met up again, and for no particular reason. But it is just saying to that person in the gym, or giving that little smile,
100%,
or in that coffee shop, if you're going regularly and seeing the same person, just saying, hello, how's your day going? You know, anything just to...
For sure. I mean, look at FA and Errol, right? Like, it was the Arsenal football shirt, and then we found each other and it was love at first sight.
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat as an expat, I feel like, whether you've been here for 15 years or 2 months. Like, everyone's willing to help each other out. It is a great community if you put yourself out there and find it. Thank you so much, Yaz, for having my first expat chat.
Yay! Go you, getting this off the ground, my friend. Proud of you.
I procrastinated on this a long time, didn't I?
But you've done it.
I've done it, and I just think I hope that it's going to be useful or comforting. I think that's the word. I want it to be comforting for other people, whether they're watching from whatever country, thinking about moving to the UAE or anywhere in the world, because expat life is expat life.
It is indeed. Yeah, for sure.
I just hope that people have enjoyed listening or watching on whatever platform, and I look forward to sharing many more memories with you.
Yes, and amen, my friend.
I really hope that you enjoyed that expat chat. I could literally sit and chat to Yaz for ages. That podcast could have easily been 2 hours long. But anyway, please make sure that you like it, share it with someone else that you might think it's useful. And if you're watching it elsewhere, drop a comment, subscribe, save, whatever you need to do. Until the next expat chat.